Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. I wanted to talk today about the deck I climbed up to Master with, and it's not even a canine deck, but it's actually just probably my favorite new deck to play right now. That's gonna be Snake Eye Yummy. In fact, not only did I reach Master rank, but as you can see here, I actually hit a 12-game win streak up to Master rank. So I think this deck has a lot of good potential behind it. Definitely don't sleep on this particular Yummy or Snake Eye variant. I actually did talk about this video last week in a combo guide for some new potential Snake Eye variants, which I'll link in the description below. And this was one of them. Although this build's a little bit different, I changed some of the off-engine stuff in particular to better suit the current meta, or I guess to better play against it more like. But yeah, I'm going to show you some highlights from this grind up to Master rank, which again was actually ended up being pretty easy thanks to the win streak we hit there. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those duels. Alright, so let's check out this going second game against K9 Vanquish Soul. Yeah, actually, the vast majority of these games are going to be against K9 Vanquish Soul, because that was the vast majority of what I played against on ladder, which makes sense because these games were all played, I think, on the second day of the pack release. But they're going to lead with a case for K9, revealing the Jokel. We're going to chain our Molcharmy Fuelos here, and they're going to use Stake Your Soul to special summon the Dr. Madlove. We're going to peel Imperm right off the top, and I'm actually going to use it against the Dr. Madlove here. That way they're not able to start searching up level 5s, and yeah, they have the Jokel in hand, which I think they're actually just about to use, yeah. But at least this way I'm forcing them to use another level 5 monster from their hand, which ends up being Lupus. So they're going to use the Jokel to add a Naroi, which is a little bit of a weird search. I was kind of surprised it wasn't Izuna, but that's definitely fine with me. Now they're going to go for the Ripper. We're going to get to draw a Maxi here. Of course, since they have the Ripper on board, I'm not going to really be able to make effective use of the Maxi, but it looks like they're about to stop making plays anyway. They're going to set Release Restraint, Special Experiment, and another card, and then pass after the Madlove is bounced by Stake. OSS is a great top deck here. It lets me extend if this line gets negated. I'm going to go for the Cupsy Yummy first. They're going to go immediately for the special release, reviving the Jokel and then using it to summon the K9X Werewolf. This, of course, comes with the Hand Rip ability, so at this point, I'm left with a bit of a tough decision of how do I want to proceed, right? Because on my next effect, my opponent's going to get to look at my hand and banish a card from it until the end phase. So to me, the simplest solution here is to simply not leave anything in my hand that I want them to take by the time I activate a card effect. And there's a few different ways we can achieve this. So first, I'm actually going to set the Triple Tack and the OSS. Not only are these two of my most important cards in hand, but they're both normal spells, so I can just flip them up during my turn anyway. The same can't be said for Call By, which I could have arguably set here as well, but we're going to link the Cupsy into Snatchy, activate Yummy's Snatchy effect. They're of course going to use the Werewolf Hand Rip, and I'm going to fire off the Surprise in order to special summon the Marshmallow from hand, while also using Call By to negate and also banish the Jokel. That doesn't really matter for this turn, but if the duel goes to their next turn, that'll matter quite a bit. Now I've left the only card in my hand to be Maxi, which I didn't even really want to activate anyway, because they have Ripper on the field, and I actually want to steal their Ripper, because they have, I think, one card in hand I don't know about, so in case it's a hand trap, I want to have insurance against that, and also I want to make sure that they're not able to use it and then also rank it up. So here they're going to use the Forced Release on the Werewolf. I'm going to chain Surprise and they're going to chain Release Restraint. But this is still good for me because the Forced Release will no longer destroy a card because it will not be ranking up or, cease changing, whatever you want to call it, the Werewolf. The Release Restraint is going to turn the Werewolf into actually the rank 5 Hound, which I was a little surprised to see. You don't see this card a lot. This seems like more of a pure canine build with a Vanquish Soul splash than anything, but we're gonna go Surprise for Cookie and Lollipo. We'll just discard the Lollipo here. Now, each time I activate a monster effect, the Hound is going to gain 500 attack points, and if I wanted to, it was hard to see it because of the attack points didn't stick around for long enough, but because I had those 3 Yummy monsters in play, my Cookie was actually strong enough to crash with the Hound. So I could have just left it at that, but because I still have the OSS, we can play around this Hound, even though it can't be destroyed by card effects. But I still want to make sure I have a little bit more insurance. There's not really too much of a need to do this, I'll be completely honest. Because they only have 1 unknown card in hand and I already have Ripper, but if I'm playing optimally, you know, I will go for the Martial Metal Marcher and then Lollipo. This also just gives me the most amount of bodies on board, so I'm not really styling again, I'm just playing optimally to make sure that, you know, we're all set here. But now we're gonna go Metal Marcher plus the Lollipo into Herald. And I can flip up OSS, send away my remaining Cookie, summon out the Snake Eye Ash. Ash is gonna add Poplar. They're going to keep gaining attack points, but it's not going to matter at this point because even though the Hound can't be destroyed by card effects, I'm just going to end up pushing it into the back row with Snake Eye's Flamberge Dragon. So yeah, we did have some help from Fulos there, but given that we're playing Fulos and Purulia, we're going to be seeing that kind of effect a lot going second, and really in the grand scheme of things, all it got us was that Imperm to stop the Mad Love. I say all, that was still quite a bit, but we're still able to push through the setup our opponent had. Flamberge to push into the back row as well. And then we're going to take the W. Very clean going second game against Canine Vanquish Soul, but let's see some more gameplay here. Alright, so I wanted to show a game against Canine Vanquish Soul where they do like turn 0 stuff against you, because that's going to come up a lot, right? Between the Halisu and the Izuna, the Impulse drawing into cards like that, you're going to be seeing this quite a bit on ladder. So we're going to be going first here. Going to draw phase Wanted for another Diabell Star. Even though we already have one in hand, there's no reason not to, because the Wanted can get us a draw later with the OSS in the grave. Going to special summon Diabell Star, sending away Fulos. I actually don't really want to send away the second Diabell Star. That kind of matters, because now I'm still like maintaining a good amount of hand information, like keeping it to myself rather, and not just letting them know that I doubled up on Diabell Star there. They might think this is a relevant card or a hand trap or something. I guess you could make the same argument for Fulos being in hand too, though. Alright, so Ash is going to add the Poplar. They're going to go for Halisu here, revealing the Mad Love. And we'll see what else they end up having, if it's an Earth or a Fire. Either way, they're going to be able to out one of my monsters here. I was kind of hoping it was a Fire monster, and they did discard an Impulse here, which I'm definitely going to Ash Blossom. I do not need them drawing into more cards and finding like an Izuna on top of this. Although they're going to reveal the Mad Love with the Lupus. So not only can they steal one of my monsters here, but yep, they can also summon the Lupus and go into a rank 5 anyway. This does only leave 1 card in their hand that I don't know about, which is pretty nice. So Mad Love and 1 unknown card. They're going to steal my Poplar here. We're going to go for the Divine Temple. Activating the Divine Temple to place the Snake Eye Diabell Star, which I'll then summon from my spell trap by placing the Ash Blossom into my back row. I'm then going to link away the Snake Eye Ash for Link Karibo so that I can normal summon the Oak from my hand. If I didn't have Oak in hand, I would have probably just gone Ash into Oak there, but now I'm going to go Ash plus Ash Blossom into the Snake Eye's Flamberge Dragon, and this is where they're going to use the Lupus effect. They're going to overlay Lupus plus Halisu into the Nosh Knight, and they're actually going to use the Nosh Knight effect in order to steal my Flamberge Dragon as a material, which is a pretty good play, but unfortunately for them, I'm not just on Snake Eye, I'm also on Snake Eye Yummy specifically. So we can just synchro into Cupsy Yummy way. We're going to search up the Cupsy Yummy and Cookie, discard the extra Diabell Star. Very important, I discussed this in the combo line, but it's very, very important to highlight here that you do not add Marshmallow. You need to add either Cookie or Lollipo with the Cupsy, because you're going to have the Snake Eye Diabell Star on the field. That or the Flamberge or the Barone, so you're not going to be able to special summon the Marshmallow with its effect. We also need to special summon Cupsy before we synchro into the Barone, while we still have a level 2 synchro monster on the field. Alright, here is the Baron de Fleur. Summon that out, just pop their Nosh Knight, get rid of that, not have to worry about it. Cupsy Yummy is going to get linked off into the Snatchy. And yeah, now even though our opponent did turn 0 plays against us, we are still just able to go into full Yummy combo with the Omni Negate Baron de Fleur up. And realizing this, our opponent's going to concede. So That, I think, just really highlights the biggest strength of this deck, which is you'll often start with, first of all, the Snake Eye line can go into Yummy, even if interrupted. So oftentimes your opponent's just going to throw all their disruptions at your Snake Eye stuff, and then you're just like, cool, synchro into Cup C Yummy way. But even then, there's also a lot of hands where you'll just open like a bunch of Yummy cards plus a Diabell Star, and in that scenario, you could even just start going for Yummy plays, and then if those get disrupted, go Diabell Star, or OSS like that going second game that we showed first. But we still have more games to check out. Let's go to the next one. Alright, how about another going second game against K9 Vanquish Soul? I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say that this was like 70 to 80% of my matchups, and I mean, I don't know, we hit a 12-game win streak, so seems like this deck is pretty good against it to me. Here we're actually going to open with the Purulia, which I'm just going to fire off before the main phase to not have to deal with triple attack, and it's going to force our opponent to pass. So I'm still not sure if that's right, though, because firing it off early does make the Eason alive. There is an argument that you could save Purulia until they start to special summon from hand, and then only then you would make the Eason alive. But at the same time, it's like, there's no reason not to fire it off right away, unlike Fulos or Maxi, because then you can get a draw for the normal summon. Even if it's against a deck that isn't going to special summon a lot from hand, then the Purulia at least cycles for itself. Either way, I think Purulia is really good in this meta, but we'll talk about that more in the deck breakdown at the end. Top deck Diabell Star is excellent. It means I don't have to be worried at all about going for normal summon Cup C Yummy. If I didn't top deck Diabell Star, I would have led with special summoning Marshmallow. That way I could have normal summoned Oak later to potentially go into a Snake Eye line, but... Alright, here's Holisu revealing the Raisin and the Mad Love to special summon a Raisin from deck. That's going to add a Caesar Valius, and of course it's across from my Cup C Yummy, so it'll end up popping that as well. So now we can special summon Marshmallow. I like to kind of hide my other engine for as long as possible. Like if I start with Snake Eyes stuff, I try not to summon a random Yummy monster in the middle of it to tip them off. And I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to do Yummy stuff until I am satisfied they're out of disruption, and then I'll summon Diabell Star. So they actually accidentally revealed an extra card to me, which was the Xiaolong. They should have revealed the other Raisin, which is still in their hand, right? Because yeah, now they're going to use Xiaolong and reveal that Raisin, plus their last card, Fire Attacker, in order to search up the Heavy Borger. Now they're going to use Borger effect in order to bounce the Xiaolong to summon. Borger is going to reveal the Mad Love and draw one card. But in the process of doing that, I don't think that was incorrect necessarily, but I will say that in the process of doing that, my opponent has just showed their whole hand to me. So now I know there's only one unknown card that I don't know about, and that's the only card that has potential to be a hand trap. Plus, it's K9 Vanquish Soul, so it's very unlikely to be something like a Nibiru. This deck almost never plays Nibiru, or their deck rather almost never plays Nibiru. You know, a Mulch Army card won't do a lot here. If it's Maxi, it's Maxi. If it's Ash Blossom, it's Ash Blossom. But we're going to use the surprise here as we Synchro Summon. That way, we can bounce these bigger Vanquish Soul monsters and I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk going into the Lollipop early here, earlier than I normally would. I usually like to have the Omni Negate established first, but again, K9 Vanquish Soul almost never plays Nibiru, so I'm pretty confident that they're not going to have that. Alright, so we're going to go Martial Metal Marcher into Herald. I'm going to set that up just in case, like, it's not going to be Nib, but just in case it's something else. Now I'm going to send away my leftover Cookie Yummy for the Diabell Star. Diabell Star effect to set OSS. Mainly, I just wanted my Omni Negate established before I committed to going into my other engine, right? Yeah, I keep talking about Nib, but really Izuna is the main thing I was worried about here. Izuna into Vallon to turn one of my cards face down. I was mostly just trying to set myself up for a scenario where I always had at least a couple of cards face up. Well, I guess to be fair with Diabell Star specifically, you don't need to have a face up card because she can send a face down card. It's OSS where you need a face up card, but... Anyway, yeah, we're just doing Snake Eye stuff here. Flamberge is going to push back the Raisin. I miscounted my zones here. I thought for some reason that I had to go into SP to make enough room to go into Barone and summon my Snake Eye stuff, but I definitely didn't need to. I could have just synchroed Cup C plus Flamberge into Barone, summoned out my Ashen Oak, and yeah, the little knight was just me not thinking. I think I was also low on the timer, and I get kind of not thinky when that happens, but I don't know, it was still more than enough damage for lethal here. With 2 Omni negates as well. Alright, let's take a look at the next game. Alright, let's mix this up with another going first game. I mean, it's going to be another game against K9 Vanquish Soul, but at least this one will be going first. I say, only because I had so many going second ones. Another great hand. Even if I had gone second, definitely would have just shotgunned Purulia and drawn into more hand traps, ideally. But here I'm going to lead with Draw Phase Wanted and then still normal summon the Snake Eye Ash. They're going to go for Impulse, and I was actually pretty worried about this, like, them resolving Fire Attacker. Like, Fire Attacker doesn't look that good, but the amount of turn 0 plays they have, and also the fact that they need the right attributes to set a lot of them up, really makes me worried when they get to draw 2 cards and sculpt in their hand, right? Anyway, we're going to go Poplar for Divine Temple, and sure enough, here's the Izuna. It's unfortunate. Poplar and Marshmallow, I think, are the only real combo effects that activate from hand. Now, that is avoidable with Yummy, but with Snake Eye, obviously, Poplar is going to always make the Izuna alive. That said, I mean, as you've seen so far, as I've demonstrated, it's not that hard to push through the Izuna lines here. Okay, so they're going to go for the Lupus. Even if they make Vallon, which I think they are here, they can't turn my Link Reba face down, and I have a Cup C Yummy in hand, so if nothing else, I can always just special summon the Cup C Yummy. Here they're going to turn the Snake Eye Ash face down, but that I can just send away for the Diabell Star, and then Diabell Star can set OSS, and then now I can just get to Oak anyway through OSS sending away the Diabell Star. Or I would if they didn't go with the Ash Blossom here, so that is going to stop me there, but again, I still have the Link Rebo on the field, plus the Cup C Yummy in hand, so we can just special summon that, and then add the Yummy Surprise. And as you can see, a lot of these lines where I'm getting disrupted on Snake Eye stuff, we're just left with the leftover Diabell Star, which means we can just make the Barone anyway. So we're going to add Cookie and Lollipo. I'll just get rid of the Purulia now. Again, not adding Marshmallow, because we're never going to end up in a spot where we can special summon it, but here is the Baron de Fleur. Now, the Vallon still has the Lupus as a material, so it can't be targeted. So, unfortunately, the Baron can't just pop it here. I will still use it to pop the Fire Attacker at some point during this turn, but we're going to pivot into Yummy stuff from here. Our Mignon's going to revive the Cup C. Yeah, here randomly I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just pop this Fire Attacker, because there's no reason not to. Alright, here's the Lollipo. We're going to activate Lollipo to revive Cup C and Cup C Yummy Way. Now we can sync them into the Martial Metal Marcher. We're going to go Marcher F in order to revive the Cup C Yummy Way. We can special summon the Lollipo and make the Herald. Now, here, I'm going to kind of botch my zone placement a little bit, because in my mind I was like, oh, I might still make IP. So let me, yeah, summon Elf over here and leave this zone open. But I really should have just summoned it over here to protect both Herald and Barone, especially because they already had Vallon up. I just didn't think about the fact that, oh yeah, they can just Vallon on their turn too. So yeah, Elf really should have been put over here. That was a misplay on my part, especially because I realized pretty quickly, like, wait, I'm not going to summon IP. I don't have enough bodies to do it. And I want to save the Lollipo for using on their turn. So yeah, that was a pretty big misplay on my part. And it will definitely come up here as they're going to go move to battle phase. I'm going to Elf for Cup C Yummy Way. They're going to battle over Herald and then just flip the Barone face down. Again, not a great play on my part. I could have prevented that, but it's all good. We'll play through it. We're going to use the Cup C Yummy Way to revive the Snatchy, and then also the Cup C Yummy. Baron de Fleur goes face down. No point in negating it. The Vallon doesn't present a threat anymore, and then I can save the Well, I guess to be fair, well, no, because if I would have negated it, then I wouldn't have gotten flipped face down. I wouldn't have had the negate. This way, I can still, in theory, flip up the Baron during my next turn and have the negate. So here they're going to go for summoning Caesar Valius. I will use the surprise here. They're going to go for Maxi We're going to chain Lollipop Yummyway and get some bodies on board before they're able to draw. And that's kind of coming down to them top decking a follow-up play, because they're not going to have any monsters on board. They'll get one draw off of Max C, but the Caesar Valius that's in their hand is going to be dead, so unless their last card plus their top deck can get them out of this, which I don't think it does. Nope, they're just going to concede here. Alright, I think I have at least one more game for us to look at. Let's go into that last one. Okay, how about we finish up with yet another going second game against Canine Vanquish Soul. This one will kind of highlight what I was talking about earlier as far as like shotgunning Purulia, but not Maxi or Fuelos, right? So again, the thought process for shotgunning Purulia is if they normal summon, even if it's not Canine VS, we still get a draw off of it. Now here, as you can see, my opponent had to go normal summon Izuna, dump Lupus, set one card, and pass. That's because I didn't activate any monster effects from my hand. I've always talked about how important it is to not shotgun Maxi or Fuelos. I cannot stress how important that is in this meta, because if I had shotgunned either of those cards, just fired them off from my hand during like the draw or standby or whatever, they could have special summoned Izuna for 1 and kept their normal summon. 2, Lupus would have been live. They could have gone into a Ripper, followed by, you know, whatever else. Like, yeah, I would have gotten draws, but also their setup would have been a lot better. So, food for thought. Anyway, we're going to start with normal summon the Poplar here. Poplar is going to add OSS. It's a little unlucky that I have Oak in my opening hand, because I wanted to summon that with OSS anyway. But we do have Cupsy Yummy, so even if they disrupt my Snake Eye stuff, you can always just special summon the Cupsy Yummy. Alright, so here they're going to activate Lupus effect, and I'm just going to fire off the Max C at this point. Snake Eye Ash is a really bad draw here, unfortunately, but here is the Retaliating C, which is going to be obviously a bit of an issue as long as it's banishing all of my cards. Now, Snake Eye Oak can revive the Poplar from the graveyard. I'm going to special summon the Cupsy Yummy at this point, add the Yummy Surprise, and then I'm going to link off Oak, Poplar, and Link Haribo for the WP Fancy Ball. My thought process being that now I can negate the Lupus if it tries to activate, and I won't have to deal with a rank 5 thanks to that. I'm going to move to battle phase and try to battle over the Retaliating C, but my opponent's going to actually activate the Lupus to get me to not battle over it. So the Lupus does get banished, meaning I don't have to deal with it moving forward. However, I'm going to have to set 3 and pass, which does give me my Fancy Ball again, and at least the other effect is live now. Now here they're going to link Izuna plus Retaliating C into the IP Masquerena. At first I thought, wow, that's a huge misplay, because now my Fancy Ball can just use the Masquerena. But of course this lets them add the Maxi, which complicates things. Also, it looks like they really wanted to trigger the Snow Devil, which now kind of makes the Fancy Ball a moot point. I'm going to let it resolve here, because I don't want them to get draws off of Maxi. Because they've shown me their hand with Snow Devil, and at this point I'm like, wow, their hand is like really dead, and I don't want them to, again, get a lot of draws off Maxi. Because you might have been thinking, well, Hex, you could still could have chained Fancy Ball linked with the IP, and then your SP Little Knight would have survived the Snow Devil. And while that's true, that would have given them more opportunities to top deck into more plays. I will give them one draw here. I'm going to chain the Surprise so that way their Druid Swarm doesn't hit the board. That play is a little bit debatable, honestly. You could have argued that I, should have not done that. Although, I will say that if I hadn't done this, then I wouldn't have had any way to, I wouldn't have had another Yummy monster to summon off a Surprise, and with Oak and Poplar banished, my Snake Eye Ash by itself is not going to do a lot, right? Even if I go into Flamberge, I don't have 2 level 1 fires to summon. So they're going to go Ash Blossom against my Cupsy Yummy Search. I'm going to use Crossout Designator against the Ash Blossom. Couldn't use it against Maxi because I opened Maxi and it's at 1 now, but looks like that's enough to get them to concede, as they no longer have any plays in hand, and then I'm going to search follow-up during their turn here. So, alright, there are the duels. Let me show you the build, and we'll kind of go over it a little bit, and I'll give you the breakdown here. Alright, here's going to be the list for Snake Eye Yummy. It's pretty much the same as what I showed in my combo guide as far as like the engine and the extract goes. The only extra deck difference is I took out Almirage for the WP Fancy Ball, and the main deck differences are all off-engine. I wanted to prioritize having a playset of Imperm. I think I might have already in my combo guide build. I don't remember off the top of my head, but Imperm stocks are really, really high in this meta because it's a hand trap that's actually a trap card, meaning it won't make stuff like Eason alive or Lupus, right? But as far as like hand traps go, I really, really like Mulch Army Purulia. It's really good against K9 Vanquish Soul or any K9 variant, and it's really good against the mirror match as well. Yummy has also become a lot more popular because so many people are on K9, and Yummy has a great K9 matchup. Purulia is really at its worst against like Dracotail, which I haven't seen a ton of. I mean, as you saw in our games, it was pretty much all K9 Vanquish Soul, but I also wanted to make sure that we had triple attack as well. I think triple attack is also really good in this K9 meta for, you know, if they do have Izuna and then set up a Vallon or a Ripper, then you can just go ahead and steal it and then not have to worry about it. Or if you're going second against them, obviously they're going to be firing off monster effects left and right during your turn, then you can just steal part of their end board to use to try to stop them. Like, if they lead with like a Ripper negate, and you were able to go triple attack steal like the Umbral Horror, that would be insane, because then you could negate their werewolf as it tries to hand rip you, and then you hand rip them and have their life points, making them easier to then finish off. Not that I have a scenario that's come up like that, but just, you know, a lot of ways in which triple attack I think is particularly good in this current metagame. But yeah, that's gonna go ahead and do it. Hopefully you enjoyed the games and enjoyed the list. I think this deck is insane. I actually think this deck is really, really good, and I have the win streak as evidence of that, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Either way, that's going to go ahead and do it for now. Thank you as always for watching. Let's move on to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.